Hey, have you noticed that the young men recently ordained are a little bit more orthodox in their belief and practice? And I know some people are thinking, okay, that's just your hopeful thinking. Well, it is my hopeful thinking, but I also think it is fact. According to a recent survey of 3,500 recently ordained priests, it found that more than 80% of priests ordained since 2020 described themselves as theologically conservative/orthodox or very conservative/orthodox. But still not a single surveyed priest who was ordained after 2020 described himself as very progressive. The question I have is why? So I put this question to Father Cristino Bouvette, the Vocations Director of the Calgary Diocese, to get his response. Like, why does a young man want that now, as opposed to maybe back in 60s, 70s, it was a little different? Because there was the air was filled, they said, with change.
Yes.
And in some respects, there was a lot of change that was happening. So why are young men not attracted to that?
Because they're exhausted from the instability that constant change produces. And that translates into going in search of something constant and stable and predictable, tried, tested, and true, that they can really sink their teeth into, that they can have as an anchor. Because the young men of this generation have grown up in a time where everything was up for grabs. You can't stay caught up with anything. Your technology is constantly developing. You just got a subscription to this streaming service, but here's a better one. You just started playing this video game, but here's a newer model. Everything they've ever tried to do was already obsolete before they even figured out how to use it or got good at it. And it's produced, as I refer to it, an instability, a feeling like you're constantly on shifting sand. And that's exhausting. If you can't walk on a tightrope forever because it's exhausting. You'll fall, or if you manage to stay on, eventually your body just can't take what is required of it to stay on top of that. You need something firm that you can set your feet down on and not wonder if it's about to get pulled out from underneath you. And so they go looking and they find the 2,000-year history and tradition of the church's teaching and liturgy and her beauty. And they say, yes, I can set my feet down on this. I don't want it to change. I don't want it to shake. I don't want to know what's the next thing that's going to be different. They're grateful that they have something sturdy to set their feet on. And I actually think that that's for most Catholics. I'll go even one step more general and say that's just for young people right now. And young people are entering the church at an alarming rate. I work not only in vocations, but in university and young adult chaplaincy. Every year, it's not necessarily gotten to the point where it's doubling year by year, but the number of young people who are entering the church every Easter. In our young adult chaplaincy alone, we had 31 people baptized and confirmed.
It's beautiful.
Who I would say the average age, probably somewhere around 24. They're looking for something that can provide some stability in their life. And if the church becomes one of the things that's just like everything else around them, that's constantly changing and growing and re-examining itself to see how it can be better, we're going to lose them because that's what they're fleeing from.
Right. But doesn't the church lose its relevance when it does that? It becomes like everything else.
I think that's what those who are agitating for it to be that way don't realize, because they grew up in everything being like that. And if they notice that the church isn't, then that's what they react to. Oh, I'm part of the one thing that can't stay caught up with everything else. As opposed to realizing that it's a blessing that I'm part of the one thing that just remains the same, that is stable and firm and predictable. People don't appreciate how much they're drawn to that until they've lived an entire life without ever having it.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked that clip, I'm sure you'd appreciate the full length video. That discussion is right here, and that video, it's just for you.